Please be advised, this video contains spoilers from Red Dead Redemption 2. If this displeases you, click away now. Games can be long. In some cases, all the games we don't want to end unfortunately do, leaving a hole that is queued up to be filled by the next game. 60 hours is no longer enough for gamers, especially in AAA titles. However, does a game need to last forever just for it to be good? When is it okay to pull the plug? And how does this sudden demand in longer games affect the pacing of a story? If you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe, and if you want to check out more of my videos, click the info button above to take you directly to my gaming industry playlist. If you haven't played it yet already, and have the luxury of not knowing what happens, I implore you to go out and buy Red Dead Redemption 2. The character development and game mechanics are all solid, especially if you like the slower paced storytelling. That's not to say that it goes without some problems. Red Dead 2 boasts that the main storyline will take you around 62.5 hours to complete. Oddly specific, I know. Now for one game, that is a lot of time, and I wouldn't say those hours are wasted by any means. However, unless the game is action 24/7, there is going to be a lot of downtime. The issue is pacing. Now I haven't been the first to say this, and I certainly won't be the last, but the pacing in Red Dead Redemption 2 is very odd. Quick sidebar, The Hateful Eight remains one of my favourite films ever, so please don't take this for impatience. I have endless amounts of patience if it is executed correctly. And while Red Dead 2 is obviously a game and not a movie, it still plays like one, and I will say with such an extensive amount of content, it does come with its drawbacks. The immediate threat as soon as you launch the game is the Pinkertons and the O'Driscolls, and while they are present throughout the entire game, they almost pop in and out of existence randomly. For a game and a story, this is typical, and it's the writers obviously trying to make you forget about the long list of people out to get the Van der Linde gang. As the game progresses, you have the O'Driscolls, the Lamone Riders, the Law, the Murphy Brood, and many more, all fighting each other to be the last remaining band of outlaws. But with all these enemies trying to be written in, it makes it difficult to intertwine them in a way that wouldn't be too much, leading them to being put into subgroups. So as you progress through the story, you deal with this lot, then that lot, and then the big finale is you tie all your loose ends. This is a great game, and it is strongest in its two final chapters, where you have all the Native Americans fighting the US government, starting from peaceful negotiations to all-out battles. You have Dutch losing a grip on his gang, descending from somebody you actually see as fair and just to the evil person he's always been. You have the brilliant scene of O'Driscoll as he realises he isn't going to get out of this one, and when you know that Arthur's fate is sealed, whatever decision you make, it puts you in a real moral dilemma no game has ever put you in before. Nothing matters, as he is inevitably going to die, so you can choose to go out reckless with a bang, or go out on making an impression on the people around you. It's a beautiful thing, and I was fortunate enough to get the good ending. It really is something else. You feel as if you did right by everyone. Dutch knew, and it killed him. Perhaps even made him who he would be in the original game. Everyone praises you, and Arthur was true to himself the whole way through. I personally would have been happy with a lot less. Less is more, and even though the entire game's set up for that climax, I still feel as if the game's main storyline had been cut appropriately, it could have hit a hell of a lot harder. Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't the only game that suffers from this. Many games are ridden with filler, just to make it last a little longer, to the detriment of the user experience. The reason that writers do this is to add more game time. Time is the most important investment anyone can give, and time is ultimately money. This makes consumers far more likely to invest financially if they have already invested or plan to invest a lot of time in something. This works for reality TV, movies, and of course video games. And I will say that it isn't always about the money, because for the developers it's just as much about the storytelling as it is the money, especially for single player games that won't change regardless of how many people buy it or invest in it further. What seems good on paper, however, doesn't always get executed so well practically. Whilst none of the conversation ever bored me in Red Dead, I felt myself occasionally slumped over waiting to get to a mission area. And while fast travelling is already kind of in the game, in the form of trains and stagecoaches, and if you upgrade the camp, it can still take you a long time to get from point A to point B, only to ride somewhere else to then do the mission and then ride back again. Companies have been touting big open world experiences with plenty to do, but what you end up doing feels so meaningless and arbitrary that it doesn't feel engaging whatsoever. Not only that, but the same stuff is peppered generously about the worlds. A perfect example of this is the Assassin's Creed franchise. You have these huge maps with an amazing team of map designers crafting these very detailed and beautiful worlds. yet inside them is nothing but reused missions over and over until the main storyline is complete, and then you are left with nothing to do other than pick up collectibles. Red Dead does have collectibles, but there's no emphasis on it, which is perfect. I didn't realise that there were any until about halfway through the game, when I stumbled onto one accidentally.
Do you have my bag?
There are random encounters throughout, and they are both engaging and they could either be genuine or a trap, and if you have a bounty, then you could get ambushed by a group of bounty hunters. Fortunately, Red Dead 2 doesn't have an issue with the world being detailed. It's so detailed in fact that you could be doing one thing and before you know it you're in a bar stumbling around drunk as anything. The problem I have isn't really with Red Dead 2. It suffers from the issue I think every game with a story does, and I unfortunately don't think there is anything developers can do about it, especially not for open world games. However, what they can do is make their worlds more detailed, so that the filler doesn't actually feel like filler. In conclusion, Red Dead 2 is still a great game, and is obviously a classic that will go down in history. We just have to hope that in the future, game studios lean less towards stretching out the story as long as they can, and let the writers tell the stories they want to get out there. Thank you so much for watching, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video.